It wasn't the wine, exactly. It was the way Emma poured it. 3 glasses, slow and careful, the bottle tilted at an angle she always mocked in men. Let it breathe, she'd say, teasing their performative sommelier rituals. But tonight, her hand moved like it remembered someone else's fingers teaching her. The glasses sat in a triangle, and I was outside of it. She didn't pour mine. I noticed before anyone else did. Or maybe no one else noticed, because I wasn't supposed to notice things like that. It's the kind of omission that hides behind feminism's louder noises. The kind that tastes like tannins and silence. Renee was laughing about something about an ex-boyfriend who called himself an emotional Dion. Emma leaned back, her body curved toward her, her knee grazing Renee's. Her smile curled around the story like smoke. I smiled too wide, too late. There was a time when I would have interrupted with a sharper story, made them laugh harder. But now I watch the timing of my words like I'm counting calories again. I used to believe timing didn't matter among women who shared a politics. But I know now, it's everything. I reached for the bottle myself. Emma's eyes flicked to my hand, but said nothing. Not even a sorry. Not even a shit, my bad. Just the look people give when they've already decided you're too sensitive for this kind of thing. It's so weird, Renee was saying, like he literally used the term aftercare after ghosting me for 2 weeks. I was like, you don't get to therapize your cruelty. Laughter. Mutual, delicious. I laughed too, then sipped. My glass was fuller than theirs now. A mistake I didn't correct. Emma used to pour my glass first. She used to text me screenshots of men's bios with red circle emojis and say, "You are the only one who gets why this is violence." Now, she circles other women in. Leaves me untagged. I could say I've been busy. That I haven't gone to enough meetings lately. That my posts have gotten quieter. But I still write. I still believe in the same things. Mostly. I still sign the petitions, still pay my dues, still signal in the group chat at the right moments. But lately, I've started to feel like I'm performing feminism in a language I'm slowly forgetting. And the worst part? Emma's the one who taught me the words. Tonight wasn't about wine. It was about a choreography I was no longer in sync with. A scene I once helped script, now performed without me. And I was watching the show from the wrong side of the fourth wall. 2 days later, I saw it on Instagram. Emma posted one of those pastel square memes, the kind with serif fonts and fake deep quotes repackaged as soft empowerment. It said, "Some friendships expire when you outgrow your own performative tendencies. Let them." Underneath, her caption was short. "Growth is grief too." The post had over 1,000 likes. Renee commented, "Ugh, yes. This." With a fire emoji. Another girl from our old reading group replied, "This hit me in my throat." I watched it rack up heart reactions like tiny nods of validation. Little digital head tilts that said, "We see you. We agree. You've evolved." And I hated that I couldn't even be mad. Because if I said anything at all, I'd look like exactly what the meme accused, regressive, clingy, too wrapped up in old versions of selfhood. Too unwilling to let go. I stared at the screen longer than I want to admit. Then I screenshotted it. Not because I wanted to keep it, but because I needed proof that the cruelty was subtle. That it existed. It's not like Emma ever said she was done with me. She just rerouted. There were signs before the wine. Before Renee. Before the post. Small things. Like how she started saying "we" in meetings when I wasn't there. Or how she stopped sending me drafts of her essays. We used to workshop each other's work over oat milk lattes, collapsing into long debates about intersectionality and self-complicity. Now, I see her bylines pop up like birthday party invites I never received. I asked her once, casually, in a comment on one of her Substack posts, if she wanted to co-write something again. She replied with a heart emoji. That was it. Just a heart. I closed the app. I tried to focus on my own writing that night. But everything I typed sounded like an echo. Like I was plagiarizing someone I used to be. When I checked the group chat Femmes Against Performance, LOL, Renee had posted a meme. A still from the Real Housewives with a caption, "Me when someone tries to trauma bond before doing the reading." Emma reacted with a skull emoji. Another girl wrote, "So many of them lately." No one tagged me. But I felt it. I started typing a reply, then deleted it, then typed again, then deleted again. My hands felt too loud on the keyboard. Instead, I muted the chat, then spent 15 minutes Googling how to know if your feminist friends have emotionally ghosted you. No real answers. Just Medium articles with self-care checklists and quotes like, "Release what no longer serves you." But I don't want release. I want recognition. And maybe, secretly, I want revenge. The kind that doesn't look like revenge. The kind that wins the comments section. The invite came through a shared calendar I'd forgotten we still used. It was called Soft Chaos, a feminist dinner party series, hosted by someone named Maritza, who Emma once referred to as a vibes curator with taste trauma. I clicked the event link, not sure if I was even on the guest list or just seeing it through residual permissions. Emma was tagged as co-host. Renee was on the panel, reimagining rest as radical practice. I searched my name. Nothing. I stared at the RSVP button for a long time. There was no password, no restriction. Just a gentle Canva-flavored graphic of a matcha latte and some peonies with serif font. We gathered to unlearn, unravel, and unfold together. I clicked attending. Instantly regretted it. There's a specific shame in showing up to a thing you weren't explicitly invited to. A knowing that hums under the skin, like static. Still, I told myself, this is a public event. This is a feminist event. Who would gatekeep a dinner party meant to unfold? Apparently, Emma. The venue was a co-op space I used to crash in during grad school. High ceilings, unvarnished floors, art made from recycled zines and misprinted posters. I arrived 10 minutes early and immediately regretted not being late. Inside, I saw the seating chart, name cards, delicate with wax seals. Everyone had a spot. I didn't. I stood by the herbal mocktail bar pretending to read the ingredients on the lavender shrub like it was an academic text. Emma floated in wearing a rust-colored jumpsuit, her curls diffused and backlit like a Renaissance painting. She saw me, paused, then smiled a brief, brittle thing and walked over. "Oh," she said. "Hey, I didn't know you were coming." "I saw it on the shared calendar," I said. "Guess I forgot to remove myself." "Totally," she nodded. "That calendar's such a time capsule." She didn't say welcome. Didn't offer a seat. Behind her, Renee waved vaguely, then turned back to someone else mid-sentence. I tried to smile, but felt my face contort instead. Emma motioned toward the drink table. "They have CBD spritzers. You'll love them." I nodded. She didn't wait. Later, I sat on a windowsill, balancing a plate of fig toast and radicchio. No seat, no name card. Just me and the condensation ring forming under my glass. During the discussion, Renee talked about boundaries as a love language. Emma nodded sagely, eyes fixed on her like she was absorbing holy doctrine. No one mentioned exclusion. No one talked about how boundaries, when misused, can just be walls with Instagram captions. I left before dessert. No one stopped me. On the walk home, I composed a post in my head. Sometimes feminist community feels like trying to sit at a table you helped build, only to be told the seating chart was curated for energetic alignment. I didn't post it. Didn't even screenshot it. Some silences are so thick, even subtweets can't cut through. The photos appeared before I even got my boots off. A carousel on Emma's feed, geotagged, Soft Chaos, Night of Nourishment. Filtered in warm tones, it looked like kinship. Laughter frozen mid-giggle, hands mid-toast. A long wooden table lit by fairy lights and the illusion of inclusion. Swipe. Renee laughing, hand to chest, mouth open like something holy just escaped. Swipe. A close-up of a place card, Maritza, she/her, in delicate cursive, next to a bundle of dried lavender. Swipe. Emma with her head tilted into another girl's shoulder, captioned, "The sisterhood I dreamed into being." I wasn't in any of them. Not even a background blur. Like I'd never been there at all. For a moment, I questioned whether I had. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I stood outside the window, face to glass, hallucinating the whole thing like some feminist phantom of the opera. But no, I had the paper menu folded in my coat pocket, stained with a droplet of beet vinaigrette. I texted Nadia, The only one left from our old cohort who hadn't glommed onto Emma's solar system. You ever feel like you're haunting a friendship you didn't know had died? She responded immediately. Constantly. I'm like a ghost in their Dropbox folders. We exchanged voice notes after that, our new intimacy format since texting started to feel like shouting across a crowded room. She told me about an ex-friend who archived their entire Instagram story highlight from a shared trip, except the ones she wasn't in. I think that's what hurts the most, Nadia said. Being unremembered. Not just forgotten. Like they actively curated you out. That stuck. Unremembered. I opened my notes app and wrote it down. I don't even know why anymore. Half my notes read like tweets I'm too scared to post, and essays I'll never finish. A museum of nearly some things. I went back to Emma's page, fingers hovering over the unfollow button. But I didn't press it. There's a kind of grief in unfollowing someone who still follows you. It feels too loud. Too final. Like slamming a door on a house party you're still technically inside of. Instead, I muted her stories. Then her posts. Then Renee's too. The silence was instant and somehow louder. It didn't feel like peace. Just quiet. The kind that lingers. A week later, someone tagged me in a post I wouldn't have seen otherwise, an Eventbrite flyer for an upcoming panel titled Community, Conflict and Calling In, Feminist Friendships in Fractured Times. Emma was speaking. So was Renee. So was Jules, a mutual friend I once split a lift with after a protest, when our feet were blistered and we shared fries in silence, too tired to be performative. Jules used to send me voice notes unpacking whiteness and crying about ex-girlfriends. She never told me she was on the panel. I stared at the title. Feminist Friendships in Fractured Times. The audacity of it. They were going to sit on a stage and intellectualize the very rupture they enacted. They would speak in abstract terms, accountability, transparency, care, while everyone in the audience nodded, mistaking eloquence for ethics. It's one thing to be excluded. It's another to watch your own erasure become someone else's content. I almost laughed. The full, absurd kind that spirals into something too close to crying. For a moment, I imagined crashing it. Sitting in the front row, scribbling notes like a journalist. Asking the first question from the mic. What do you do when your so-called feminist friends weaponize boundaries as a way to ghost you without guilt? But I wouldn't. Of course I wouldn't. Instead, I bought a ticket under a fake name. Just to see what they'd say. The night of the panel, I stood in the back, hood up, half-shadowed behind a potted ficus. The moderator, someone from a podcast I used to love, asked, "How do we hold space for conflict without replicating harm?" Renee went first. I think, she said, voice soft but certain, that sometimes the harm is in the refusal to change. When someone clings to a version of you that no longer exists, it becomes extraction. Even if it's dressed in nostalgia. Emma nodded, solemn. She added, we have to learn that letting go isn't cruelty. It's care. It's making room for evolution. The audience hummed in affirmation. Someone snapped their fingers. Jules said, and sometimes, the most radical thing you can do is stop explaining your growth to people committed to misunderstanding it. More hums. A woman in the row ahead of me wiped a tear. I didn't cry. I clenched my jaw so hard it clicked. Afterward, I slipped out before the mingling started. On the sidewalk, I typed a note I'd never send. You turned our friendship into a syllabus. I was a case study you footnoted without consent. Then I deleted it. Because they would have said I was centering myself. Again. Because they were the ones holding the mic now. And I was just trying to hold my tongue. The group chat hadn't been active in weeks. Femmes Against Performance, LOL, had quieted into dormancy, like so many digital spaces that once felt like homes. But tonight, out of nowhere, Jules posted a link. A new Medium essay, The Soft Exit, Why Feminist Friendships Sometimes Die Quietly. No caption. Just the link. I clicked it without thinking. The byline was anonymous, but the voice was unmistakable. Emma. She always had that cadence, measured but lyrical, the kind of writing that made people mistake her detachment for depth. She wrote about misaligned values, friendship as labor, and emotional economies that drain more than they nourish. She never named names, but there were fingerprints all over it. She even used the phrase emotional extraction, which I remember us laughing about once in my kitchen, drunk on boxed wine and mutual disdain for people who took their own pain too seriously. Now, I was the punchline. The essay wasn't angry, it was mournful. That was the part that stung. She made herself the victim of a slow collapse. A woman who just couldn't carry everyone anymore. There was grace in her prose. Measured pauses. Clean metaphors. She made leaving sound like liberation. Like she was doing us a favor. I didn't comment. I didn't share. I did, however, open a new Google document. The title, Against Soft Exits. The first line I typed was, "Sometimes silence is violence dressed in empathy." Then I stopped. Sat with the sentence. Reread it. Hated it. Too dramatic. To Twitter. I deleted the line. Started again. I think I was supposed to outgrow the hurt by now. But what no one tells you is that feminist abandonment doesn't feel less sharp just because it's cloaked in theory. Better. I kept writing, fingers flying like I was finally metabolizing months of tension. But every time I tried to end it, I stalled. What was the point? Who would read it? Who would share it? The women who'd agree already know the sake. The ones who need to hear it would dismiss it as projection. I left the doc open, unsaved. Just a tab among tabs. The next day, Jules sent another message in the group. Her essay really made me think about all the ways we cling to old connections out of guilt. Sometimes release is the most loving thing. I hovered over the reply button. Typed. Is it still release if the other person didn't know they were being let go? I didn't send it. The message sat there, cursor blinking like a dare. Eventually, I hit backspace. One long, slow erase. Then I turned my phone off. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself cry. Not because I wanted them back, but because I finally believed they weren't coming. The last time I saw Emma in person, it was unplanned. A bookstore pop-up for radical zines, tucked into the back of a plant shop that smelled like overwatered basil. I was flipping through a pamphlet titled Decentering the Self Without Disappearing Entirely when I heard her laugh. Hi, familiar, a reflex in my bones. I turned instinctively. She was across the room, standing in a semicircle of women who all wore canvas totes and knowing smiles. She looked happy. Not performatively. Not curated. Just easeful. The kind of happy you can't fake, not even for Instagram stories. She didn't see me. I could have left. Slipped out. Preserved the fiction that I had grown to. But I walked over. Not directly. I browsed toward her. Let my body do the asking before my voice did. She noticed me at the last second, eyes widening slightly before she tucked the reaction away. Like a glitch smoothed over by software. Her smile reloaded. Polite. Professional. Hey, she said. No exclamation point. Hey, I echoed. Didn't know you'd be here. She nodded toward the zines. I did a piece in the new issue. Just a short one. I felt the absence before she said it. The nod of it. She hadn't told me. I hadn't been invited. Again. That's great, I said, and meant it, in a way that felt like betrayal to my own resentment. An awkward beat. Someone next to us picked up a zine titled Friendship as Friction and chuckled. I bit the inside of my cheek. Emma shifted her weight. Anyway, I should get back to the table. It was good to see you. You too, I said, even though it wasn't. She turned, re-entered her circle. They didn't glance my way. Later, in a rush of panic and stubbornness, I sent her a DM. Hey, I know things have shifted between us, but I just want to say I miss you. And I wish things didn't end like that, whatever that even was. The message sent. Marked seen. No reply. Not that day. Not the next. Not ever. I told myself it didn't matter. That I was above this. That emotional intelligence meant not chasing closure. But the truth was, being left on read by someone who once annotated your trauma with care feels like a kind of deletion. Not just from a friendship. From a shared language. A sisterhood that once felt like scripture. And now I was a redacted footnote in her story. It was a Tuesday. Cold, overcast, the kind of weather that wraps around your bones like static. I opened Instagram, not for any reason. Just reflex. And there it was. Emma's follower count had dropped by 1. Mine. I hadn't done it. Not consciously. But maybe some past version of me had one sleepless night, one glass too many, one quiet act of rebellion I didn't remember. Or maybe she'd unfollowed me. The thoughts spiraled fast. Had she quietly removed me weeks ago and I'd just now noticed? Had I missed the moment? Had she whispered her exit in the language of the algorithm? I searched her name. Still public. Still curated. Still beautiful. But I wasn't in her list. I checked mine. She was still there, buried among usernames I barely recognized anymore. That stung worse. That I had kept her. Held on. Carried the weight of her in my digital pocket like a key to a door I no longer had access to. I stared at her profile. Her latest post was a selfie in soft light captioned, "Healing isn't linear, but my bangs are." Thousands of likes. Dozens of comments. All the right emojis. I hovered. Then I pressed unfollow. Not a rage click. Not a fuck you. More like letting a balloon go, watching it disappear without fanfare. My thumb lingered over the screen. The quiet of it hit harder than expected. No notification. No alert. Just absence. And isn't that the cruelest part of digital intimacy? How the exits leave no sound. No slammed door. No explanation. Just a slow disappearance until you start to wonder if the friendship even happened the way you remember. If maybe, just maybe, you were the only one who felt it deeply. I went back to my own feed. Scrolled through my own posts. Photos of events, essays shared, faces I hadn't seen in person since before the rupture. Every caption now felt like an artifact from a former life. Then, on a whim, I archived all of them. Every single one. It felt like sweeping a room I no longer lived in. I didn't post anything new. Didn't craft a caption about growth or grief or ghosting. I just closed the app. Put the phone face down. And sat in the stillness, wondering how many of my friendships had died quietly, just like that. Not with a fight, but with a thumb. It happened 3 weeks later. At a co-working space I'd never been to before, new, minimalist, aggressively curated. The kind of place with kombucha on tap and workshop flyers about building intentionality into your Mondays. I'd signed up for a zine-making class. I didn't even know why. Maybe to create something with my hands again. Maybe to remember what it felt like to start without a comment section in mind. The instructor passed around stacks of old magazines. Rip out anything that grabs you. Don't overthink it. I flipped through a bitch magazine and froze. There she was. Emma. A photo from a protest we'd gone to together. Us, arms linked, fists raised, mouths open in a chant I could still taste. The photo only showed part of her face, but I knew it. I knew the jacket she'd borrowed from me. I knew the sticker on her water bottle. She'd been cropped out of the main image. Just a fragment, anonymous. I stared at it longer than I should have. Then, without ceremony, I ripped the page out. Tore it along the spine, careful not to cut through the part that showed her. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. Maybe nothing. Maybe burn it. Maybe tuck it between pages of a notebook I no longer open. But instead, I collaged it. I found an old quote in a different magazine, one of those vaguely poetic lines people attribute to anonymous feminists, real or invented. It said, "Not all kinship survives its awakening." I glued it below her image, then added a jagged line, hand-drawn in black ink, running right between our silhouettes. It wasn't art, but it felt like honesty. At the end of the workshop, we were asked to share. I didn't stand up, didn't explain. But the woman next to me, quiet, in a denim jacket with short chipped nails, glanced at my page. She looked at it for a long moment, then just said, "Oof." Yeah, it was the gentlest solidarity. No overanalysis. No need for story time. And somehow, it meant more than any apology Emma never sent. Later, I left the zine on the shared shelf of the co-working space. Unlabeled and signed, folded in half. A relic for someone else to find. Or not. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Not because I'd let go, but because, for the first time, I didn't need anyone else to witness my version to believe it was real. The group chat is still there. Muted, archived, unopened. Femmes against performance, LOL. A title that once felt like an inside joke now feels like a dare. Every now and then I scroll through the old messages, just to remind myself it wasn't imagined. The voice notes, the links, the plans that never became plans. I reread a message Emma once sent during a late-night brainstorm. Honestly, you're my intellectual North Star. No one else challenges me like you do. It should have felt vindicating. Instead, it felt like reading a love letter addressed to a ghost. Sometimes I wonder what she tells herself about me now. That I was too intense, too attached, not evolving fast enough. I wonder if she ever misses me, even briefly, like when a particular meme comes up or when someone misquotes Audre Lorde and she remembers how I used to get that twitch in my eye. But I don't need her to miss me anymore. Not really. I've started writing again. Not for panels. Not for followers. Just for me. My new pieces aren't polished. They're messy, handwritten, barely legible in places. But they feel honest. They don't try to teach anyone anything. They just exist. Frayed and unresolved. A woman I met at the zine workshop, Maya, invited me to her rooftop for tea last weekend. No agenda. No curated feminism. Just mismatched mugs and a soft blanket and the quiet hum of two people learning how to sit in presence without performance. She asked if I was seeing anyone, and I surprised myself by saying, I've been trying to date myself again. We laughed. Not the kind of laugh that performs understanding. The kind that says, I see you and you're not too much. After I left, she texted, next time, bring one of your zines. I want to see how your mind works. I stared at the message longer than I should have. It felt like being invited back into something. Not a friendship. Not a movement. Just a moment of recognition. Maybe that's all we ever need. Not a full circle. Just one small place where the door is still open.